That was the closest place to Montreal that my father was willing to send me to. Okay.
So your dad told me that you guys were learning Torahs from Reb Shlomo. I didn't even know that he knew Torah.
They are all transcriptions. Okay, so we covered the Rebbe. Right, let's sing the Bagash again. Mitzama lecha nafshi kama lecha besari eretz yamei yamayeveni Ken b'kodesh chazi sichon milas ozra uchvaydecha. Ken b'kodesh chazi sichon milas ozra uchvaydecha. Kein b'kodesh chazi sichon milas ozra uchvaydecha. Okay, so we're on page 181. Okay, so in this particular part of the talk, Reb Shlomo is talking about the Nekudat Ma'ala, the Nekudat Ma'ala, the point above and the point below. So we've got this Neshama, right? That's your innermost point, right? And what's the Neshama connected to? It's connected to its source, which is its uppermost point. What is being in Galut? Being in Galut is you're not aware of the connection between the point below and the point above, right? In other words, spending most of my time running around after all the stupidities of the world, and maybe by the end of the day, maybe I'll have given 1 minute of attention to my neshama, right? Halavai. So this is about, we're in the middle of the 3 weeks, and what is so the Nachman says that the whole union of the Beit HaMikdash being destroyed, right, is basically Hashem is showing us what kind of a mess we're in, right? Think about it this way. Like it says, for example, concerning Purim, the Gemara says, what did we do to deserve such a harsh decree to come over us to wipe us all out? The Gemara says, because we took pleasure in the meal of that wicked Achashverosh, right? So Reb Shlomo once said, imagine Chas v'Sholem, somebody destroys your uncle's beautiful home, and they take it over, and then they move in, and they invite you to come and participate at their housewarming party, right? Would you go? Chas v'sholem, right? And here we went, and Achashverosh was showing off the priestly garments and the things that he had pilfered from the Beis Hamikdash and so on. And we went, right? So Golus is that, like Reb Shlomo says, he was at one of the hotels over here, and this lady says to him, we have Eretz Yisrael, we have beautiful hotels with spas, what do we need Mashiach for? Mamish.
She was in
Huh?
She was in
She wasn't Gola, right. Yeah. Anyway, so Golus is the state in which there's a disconnection, and what's worse is when we keep on taking painkillers just to to basically ignore the reality that we're in. And pretty much, besides Prozac, pretty much almost everything that we're involved with in this Olam Hazeh is, in a certain sense, it's like a painkiller. So maybe I feel the pain of, how many times I have to take the garbage out and chas v'sholem if somebody's sick or whatever it is. We feel those things, but the real pain of disconnection, right, that's the deepest pain. And because we're constantly distracted with all the things of this mundane world, so basically we're not in touch with that pain. So one day a year, Hashem takes away all the painkillers, Tisha B'Av, so that we can be in touch with the reality, to be in touch with the reality of what's really going on, Please, yeah. Right, to be in touch with the reality. Now, if you take even, for example, the situation that we have right now with the Arabs. A friend of mine sent me an email just yesterday. He said, if we would really be in love with ourselves, we wouldn't tolerate. Then we would be in love with all our friends. If we would really be in love with our neshama, we wouldn't tolerate. We would be in love with every one of our brothers and sisters, and we wouldn't tolerate Jews being killed by Arabs, right? What did we do? There was another attack, there was another attack, and so on. And we become what's the word? Not immune, but anesthetized to it, right? That's when things are too difficult, you just sort of become desensitized, callous to the whole thing. But see, the other side, they're just motivated by hate and by what their imams teach them and so on. So they keep going. But if we would really be in love with our neshamas, and we would appreciate that we have a neshama, and really care about the neshama, then we would also, like Dr. Rebbe says, we would love each other, mamish, and it would be unheard of that we would tolerate Jews being killed.
What are you suggesting we do?
Are we tolerating it? Are we tolerating it?
Let me put it this way. If anything like this would be happening in the US or in Canada, they would resolve it in 24 hours. Okay?
Wouldn't true love extend even further though?
Yeah, it would eventually. Understand? But in the meantime, the first message that has to go out there is, you ain't going to do this to us. First it's like
But it's not that simple.
It's the when we'll be the way we're supposed to be, the rest of the world is going to say, Mazel Tov, what took you so long? Okay. But it's a Gemara that, Shaul HaMelech had the chance to wipe out Amalek, and he didn't, right? So why? Because it was too hard for him. He was such a compassionate person, right? What ends up is he ends up being very cruel to David, right? So if somebody is having compassion on somebody cruel, the end is that you end up being cruel to those you should be compassionate with. That's the Gemara, and that's exactly what happened with Shaul HaMelech. Because the point is that you don't really own your compassion. You don't own your good qualities. They're gifts from Hashem to be nurtured. And when Hashem tells you, do like this, we don't have any right to say, but it seems so cruel. Hashem is only good, okay? So to outsmart Hashem, so then that means I think that I have more compassion than Hashem is asking me to have. So Hashem says, oh, you're so smart, let's go see what happens when you encounter jealousy. Let's see what happens when you're going to see David HaMelech. Yeah?
Is there times where Hashem wants our own moral judgment to override his? Like in case of Sneva Mary, Abraham, Joseph, case of Moshe.
Yes. Some degrees of the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Mekayim, argue with Hashem, defend people, try to change them, and so on, right? But when you have a clear directive and there's no room for that, then you got to go with what the Rebbeinu Shalom says. When there's no clear directive, Hashem says to Avraham Avinu, Amachasa Anime Avraham, right? Okay. So, in other words, he's opening up the door for him. He's saying basically, could you come in and argue with me? Right? Mm-hmm. But when Hashem sends a Navi and to show the Melech with a clear instruction and so on, there's no door open to argue about that. Hmm? So, did you mark where we stopped yesterday?
We finished the whole chapter.
No, we didn't.
No?
No, we didn't. Yeah, we did. You're right. Okay. In any case, so just to finish the review of that point is that Tisha B'Av is the day that Hashem takes away our tranquilizers and our painkillers, right? And then we realize, Gewalt, I really need something for real, right? I realize that I'm looking for something a connection that cannot be undone. Okay, so let's go back to 182. I want to read a couple of lines from there still. So Atem Yodim Mani Machapes, the fifth line on the page. Atem Yodim Mani Machapes, right? And Tisha B'Av I want a lot more. So what am I looking for? I want a connection that can no longer be undone. Because if it's Lamala or Lamata, in other words, if all I have is the consciousness that I have a point above and I have a point below, so Zekvar Shnayim is already 2 points. Right? Yoter ani lo rotze shnayim, I don't want 2 anymore. Right? Vayom hahu Hashem echad u'shmo echad, I want it to be all one. Right? אם אני מחובר, אני לא רוצה למעלה ואני לא רוצה למטה, אני רק רוצה אחד, I want just one, right? משהו הרבה יותר עמוק. It's much deeper than just having 2 points connected. אם אני מחובר מהנקודה העליונה, I'm connected to my point above, אני רואה כל אדם כאילו הוא מחובר עם הנקודה העליונה. So then I can see everybody else as being connected with that supernal point. ואני לא יכול לומר משהו רע על אף אדם, then I can't speak any לשון הרע against them. כי אפילו אם למטה הוא לא בסדר, because even if here below this other person is not 100%, אני יכול להריח את הלמעלה שלו, I can smell his למעלה. I can smell his above, right? So this is the V'haloi Avecha V'chulanu. Okay? Okay. Yeah, what did I say?
What's the Nekuda L'Malan?
Because of the matter is where your Etzim Neshama is connected to. Right?
Is this Reb Shlomo's own terminology?
This is actually Reb Nachman's terminology that he's using. Okay? So the mashal, I'm sure that I've spoken about this in the last few days, but I just don't remember to whom. But for sure it wasn't to you, so I know that I'm not making you listen to something twice, but I have to hear it again anyway. At the end of the first parak in the Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says, quotes the Gemara, that all the good that the other nations do is legarmayu avda. They're doing it for their own benefit. Now it sounds a little bit like like a put down, okay? But the fact of the matter is that I've been told, I don't know from my readings, but I've been told that philosophers had a big debate. Could a human being achieve altruistic love? You know what altruistic love means? Define it.
Yeah,
Like what?
altruistic.
Speak up. Your mother wants to hear you. Yeah, what? You want the camera on
Altruism is
you
like
too?
not for yourself.
Not for personal benefit, right? Love for
Purely
pure
for
love,
another
right?
person's benefit.
Most philosophers are of the opinion
Doesn't exist.
that it's not possible.
Pessimism. Pessimism.
Okay. So in other words, you can't get out of your skin, so to speak, right? So, but the Torah demands of us is that yes, we should achieve that, and at the very least, believe that we could achieve it. Okay? So Dr. Rebbe, in discussing the mitzvah of Ahavat Yisrael, he says, how can you love everybody? We discussed this once before, right? So the question is, how do I see myself? Do I see myself as primarily a physical entity? That I have a little compartment, spiritual compartment, 6 floors up, 6 floors down, whatever it is, right? And unfortunately, 6 floors down often, right? But and then, so how do I see you? I see you in the same way as another physical being. I see you as my competitor, right? I'm afraid that you're going to take away my last piece of cake, or you're going to take away. I'm going to have to share it with you, right, or something like that. Huh?
I hate those people.
Well, zero-sum mentality. It's only a certain amount, and if you take anything away, then that means less.
Yeah,
the rest of us.
that's right. That's
That's
the way it
for
is.
me.
Limited resources in this world, right?
There are people like
There are people like that, yes. And most of us are like that most of the time. Reb Nachman says, when are you actually doing the mitzvah of tzedakah, and it feels like your skin is being peeled off, and you're still giving tzedakah, now you're doing tzedakah. Okay? But when I have a few extra bucks in my pocket, and it feels good to give a little bit of tzedakah, it's a mitzvah, but it's not yet like the full-fledged. Okay? So how am I going to love everybody? So Dr. Rebbe says, basically, I need to teach myself, I need to train myself to see myself primarily as a neshama, right? Like the Gemara says that Hillel, when he would go to eat breakfast, he would say he's basically going to pay rent to his body. The neshama has to pay rent to the body. The body has to eat. You don't eat, you're not paying the rent, you get evicted. Okay? It's true.
Wow.
It's a good metaphor.
Okay? And
I just can't be signing my lease.
okay, that's the way it is. We don't pay the rent to the body's going to evict you. That's the way it is. It's serious, okay? But so the question, in other words, I am basically a neshama, and I'm paying rent to the physical world because I have to live here for now, right? So if you see yourself primarily as a neshama, so then you can also see the other person as a neshama also, right? And we're all coming from the same one Father, from the same one source. Shaya, can you get the book, please? From the same one source. So then it's shaykh to have a Yisrael for every one of your brothers and sisters. So somebody asked me and said, Kol Beseder? Good. So somebody asked me, and that's also not altruism, right? Because I love you because you and I were part of the one, right?
Mm.
So the Tzemach Tzedek gives an example. I think I mentioned it the other day. Somebody's cutting some bread, for example, right? And he's not careful because he's holding the knife in one hand, holding the bread with the other hand. He's not careful, then he cuts his finger. What would you say if the person would go and transfer the knife to the other hand and say, go ahead, take revenge? Huh? Crazy, Meshiga of tight, right? You know that expression in Yiddish? Meshiga until death. So, so Tzemach Tzedek says the same thing. If somebody, let's say, insulted you or hurt you or whatever it is, don't try to take revenge because you're basically hurting yourself. So that's also not altruism, right? In other words, I love even though my right hand hurt my left hand, I still love my right hand enough because if I'm going to hurt my right hand, I'm going to hurt myself, right?
It's what they're incorporated into your identity.
So the question is like this: do I have to think about it, or I don't have to think about it? If I have to think about why I shouldn't transfer the knife to exact revenge, so then that's not altruism, right? But a normal person, you don't even have to think about it, right? You're one. That's altruism.
So if it's subconscious, it's altruism?
It's higher than conscious, yeah.
Can I add something?
Yes.
There's Reb makes a point on Perpetuates base that's actually even higher than the ich between the right and left half of the body, left and right hand.
Yeah.
Because the author points out that the ich is uchala.
Right.
It says that the author uses different members, which is kema achashtem. They're all one entity. That says that the author could have chosen, I didn't choose it. Because kema achas means one physical entity.
Right.
The physical entity is divisible. But Amech L'Chlan was non-divisible. So the yichud between two Jews is greater than the yichud between a person's parts in his own body. Greater than what? Greater than your own right and left.
Where is that? It's in the Biotania, it's in the Sikhs. It's in the yeah. Nice.
Crazy fun.
Okay, so he says like this, that I want it to be one. That's what we want. That's what we remind of Tisha B'Av, right? But if I'm not connected, right? But if I'm separated from the supernal point, right? So then, when I look at people just from the ground level, I say, oh, this guy, you're okay. This guy, you're not okay. You're a sinner. You're a tzaddik. Kol hashvita hazot, all that judgmentalism is going on all the time, right? Rabbi Nachman Omer, right? Did you judge your toes this morning, Shaya?
Did I what?
Did you judge your toes? Yes or no?
Not this morning, no.
Okay.
Think about it.
Then think about it, right? Because none of them were screaming that, none of them were in pain, Baruch Hashem. You don't judge. So good. So you're not judging your toes, you understand? Because you're one. You don't walk around saying, oh, let me judge my shoulder, let me judge my kidneys. If something is hurting, then you got to pay attention to it. But otherwise, if you thank God everything's okay, you don't go around judging, like, judging yourself unless you bought into some, like advertising, oh, my nose is too big, or this. like.
You're right.
I can judge. My children are dirty this morning, and I
Huh?
judge them. My children are dirty,
The,
and I clean them.
but you judge the surface, right? Good. So Rabbi Nachman Omer, so Nachman says, Beit HaMikdash hu hanekudah elyon shel kol am Yisrael. The Beit HaMikdash is the supernal point of all of Israel. Beit HaMikdash hu hakesher sheli im shamayim. It's the Beit HaMikdash, that's my connection with God. That's a little bit scary to me because Shaya told us yesterday his personal story about when he came to the Kotel, and I wish I had such a story to tell. But some people come to the Kotel like mamish, like it's the highest, and some people come to the Kotel. It's nice, it's special, and some people come to the Kotel and the connection is not there yet. So what Reb Nachman is saying is that the Beit HaMikdash is our connection to Shamayim, and you can have when I came with my students on March of the Living back in 1994.
You did March the
Hmm?
You did March the Living?
Yeah.
Me too.
So there were kids, as soon as they came to the Kotel, they just saw the Kotel, not religious kids. Like a fountain, they started crying, like gushing tears, right? And there were kids, religious kids, looked at the Kotel. Okay, what does that prove? It proves that being connected is not a matter of how observant you are.
Very important point.
But Shlomo once said that, the Rebbe and Reb Shlomo, they didn't use the words kiruv v'chaykim. Because when somebody would say to the Rebbe, he works in kiruv v'chaykim, bringing those who are far, bringing them close, the Rebbe would always say, there's no such thing as a Jew that is rachok, that is far away. Every Yid is connected. That's the Inyan.
But if you're connected, you said being connected and being observant are two different things. But if you're connected, then shouldn't you become more observant? Because you're connected. So
Yes, but you have to find out about it. You have to, somebody who's grown up without that, understand, they don't necessarily get it. Like, I feel connected anyway. Why do I need to do this? Why do I need to do that? Why do I need to light candles? Why do I need to put on film and so on? It hasn't registered in their
intellectually.
It hasn't registered somewhere inside yet. Understand? But eventually, somebody's connected. They're going to be okay. The seed came to the p.6, I think it was. He said, Rebbe, I'm not connected with my neshama, with God. So he says, do you want to be? So he says, no. He says, do you want to be? He says, no. He says, do you want to be? So he says, no. He says, do you want to be connected? So he says, yes. He says, okay, you'll be okay. Yeah. Right? So the Beit HaMikdash is my connection with heaven. Gewalt ze amok. This is something very deep. Okay, so we're all in the category pretty much of Tinnik Shenishba as a child who grew up in captivity. Doesn't necessarily mean in communist Russia. It could be captivity of modern culture and so on. So for some people it's not so easy. Like especially if how many did you?
Yes.
They do you remember in Cheder if they spoke about being connected with the Rebbeinu Shalom? No. Because you were so connected that you didn't even want to look down at what's going on in class, right?
Sleep meditating.
Huh?
Maybe you don't have to ask the question.
No, no, because it has to be fostered also for most of us. The fact is you're living in Olam Hazeh, you're living in this physical world, So, but in a lot of Jewish schools, and I don't mean to say anything bad, like Reb Shlomo sometimes referred to them as religious concentration camps. He's saying it wasn't a matter of Like, let's connect with the Rebbeinu Shalom now and do a mitzvah. And like, no, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. And you say, you learn Chassidus, you understand? So you're fortunate in that respect. That's what Chassidus is all about, right? But a lot of people, like, and even in the Hasidic schools, if you don't, like, Reb Shlomo was once staying at the hotel over here on Pinas, and Shabbos morning he was going up the stairs, and there was this guy who was smacking his 9-year-old girl because she didn't listen to him about something. Reb Shlomo says, "What are you doing? You're being Mechal Shabbos morning." The guy looks at him and says, "What are you talking about?" Like a lot of people don't get, like, what Shabbos is, what the Achtus of Shabbos and so on, right? You understand that if you don't go deeper, so it's like, okay, I'm a good boy. I did my mitzvahs. I got so many positive points. I lost so many points because of this avera, that avera, that avera. That's not all there is to it, right? What happens to me when I'm standing at the Holy Kotel? Maybe I'm never going to be totally mesudar, well arranged and organized in this world. But when I'm standing at the Kotel, like, I'm really connected with the Bach. Yid is coming from the other end of the world. He's standing by the Holy Kotel. Maybe on the lower level, he's still not yet, he doesn't know about so much about Torah and mitzvahs and so on. He might not be connecting so much between the upper and the lower points. But he does get one taste, and what does he taste? He tastes that what sheyesh mashu betocho shekashur ma'avamala. He feels that there's something inside of him that's mamish connected about. Right? Gewalt ze amok. This is so deep. So we're going to go to the next page in a minute, but actually we'll finish reading this. B'Shabbat motziim sefer Torah. Shabbos we take out a sefer Torah. Menichim oto al hashulchan v'korim. We put it on the table. We read. Lachar mikin lokchim et sefer Torah merimim oto. Then we pick up the sefer Torah for Hagbeh. Ma anachnu b'esem amrim zel lazeh. What are we basically telling each other? V'chi hachilek hachashuv b'yoter shel haTorah hu hamilim shekaranu. Do you think that the most important part of the Torah is the words that we read? החלק החשוב ביותר הוא עצם זה שהתורה מקשרת אותנו עם למעלה. The main thing about the Torah is that it connects us above. Right? I saw in the Sefer that the first word of the Sefer Debrot, Anochi, is a Rashi Tevot. It's an acronym for Ana Nafshit Ktavit Yahavit. I, my essence, my soul, have given to you in writing. My question to you is, what kind of a sefer do you think I saw that in? A Kabbalah sefer, a Hasidic sefer, a Rambam, a Gemara? Where do you think I saw that?
So this says it's not the ship, right?
You're not supposed to answer. Where does it say? What did you say?
Yeah, quite the 11 says.
It's a Gemara, the very Gemara. The truth of the Gemara is a Hasidic sefer. Okay? So the point is like this. It's not just the words. The words are every word, every letter is extremely holy. And if there is missing one letter, it's not kosher for public reading, right? If two letters are touching, it's also not kosher, right? If the letter is broken, it's also not good. But so every letter is totally holy. But what it's all about is that these words, these letters, is Hashem giving Himself to us in the written word. It's Hashem, yeah.
I think a lot of people in my community would argue that it's not as much about connecting as it is about doing, because
that's a good word. But
if you don't connect, because if it's about connecting and then you don't connect, well, then you don't do it. So it's just like God
Where
said
did you
to do
daven
it,
in
so you do
Toronto?
it.
Which shul?
And what?
Which shul did you go to in Thornhill?
In Thornhill, the bite?
So Rabbi Taub was here.
Yeah. We have a
Call
new
him up
rabbi
and
now.
ask him if he's going to argue.
Yeah. Oh my God. Rabbi Tam. That brings me back.
Okay. He won't argue with what I said. But you are referring to is a Gemara. The Gemara says, Lo ha-midrash ha'ikar, ela ha'maaseh. Learning Torah is not the main thing, is doing. In other words, why? Because learning without doing, you're learning what to do. If you're learning it and you're not doing it, it's a real problem. Okay? So
Right.
doing is extremely important. But the question is, why am I doing it? When I was teaching elementary school,
It's
I could
because
tell you
God
in the
said so.
morning, yes,
That's what
okay.
they would tell us in
but
school. God said
but so I could tell on the faces of the kids when they came to school in the morning, I can tell who got breakfast because the social worker called up the parents the night before and said, you better give your kids breakfast, or because they read in Dr. Spock, and who got breakfast because it was Ramesh love. Okay, so yes, when we were given the Torah, so we said Na'aseh v'nishma, right? I want the Torah. So why did God have to pick up the Torah and hold it over our heads? Because we're not always in that state of consciousness. In the sense that there's a state of consciousness that I need to know, listen, right now maybe I don't feel like doing this mitzvah, but Hashem said, and I have to do it. Okay? Kabbalat ol malchut shemayim, accepting the yoke of the kingdom of heaven, is extremely important. But it's the relationship. It's not just, oh, I need to do this mitzvah, and if I do this mitzvah, I'm going to get a reward. If I don't do it, it's going to be bad, and so on, right? So so there's no argument really. The question is, what is the emphasis I need to place right now? So right now, like waking up in the morning. What time is it? Yeah, I should be waking up soon. Okay. So right now, waking up, and it's 1:19. Okay, so it's man Kriya Shema. It was a while ago. It was man Tefillah. Yeah, but I'm a chassid. Okay, don't take that too seriously out there. We Hasidim, we really daven late. Anyway, so the body is basically saying, come on, Shalom. Seriously, I need another 7 minutes of sleep, right? So I have to tell my body, too bad, we're getting up now. So I gotta call myself into action. But if by the end of the day, everything I'm doing is I'm going to work because I have to go to work. I'm feeding my children because I have to feed my children, right? I say hello to my wife because I have to say hello to my wife, right? What's that like? You understand what I'm saying? Okay. So and there's no question that there's ahava tato, ahava yilo. There's a lower level of, a higher level of. There's yira tato, lower level of fear of God, and a higher level of fear of God. But the order of it is like this: yira tata'a, the lower level of love, fear, which means, I just plain and simple. I'm not eating the fully dressed pizza because I don't want to be shish kebab in heaven. Okay. Then there's a habitat. Well, what do you think they do up there? and then there's a hava tata'a, which is a step up, which means it's love of God. I'm doing the mitzvah because I want to get the reward. Then there's a hava ila'a, higher level of love. Forget about the reward. I just love you, God. Can you say I want to do the mitzvahs because I just love you? Then there's the highest level is yira ila'ah, the highest level of love, which is basically fear, which really means total consciousness of Hashem.
Yira ila'ah is higher than Ava ila'ah.
That's what I said, yeah. Okay. So back to what we're talking about. What are we talking about? That this whole point of is getting in touch with what's real. And it's not pashut, it's not an easy thing. And yesterday I was looking at the mimer, just at the kitzur of the mimer from Sian B'Mishpat Tipoder. Davening is paralleling, in a certain sense, is paralleling the four worlds. But it's also paralleling the Beis Hamikdash. Okay? So in the Beit HaMikdash, you had a few different areas. But you want to start from the outside or from the inside? We can start from the outside, right? It's outside the Beit HaMikdash. Then you step into the grounds of the Beit HaMikdash, right? Then there's so now you're in the Azara, the altar is there, etc., okay? Then there's the Kodesh, then there's the Kodesh HaKadoshim, where you have the menorah and the shulchan and so on and so on. And then you have, that's the Kodesh, the Heichal, and then you have the Kodesh HaKadoshim, where you have the Ark and so on, right? Okay. So basically, davening, we start off consciousness of your body, right? And so expressing your gratitude, and the Alter Rebbe explains, when you say Modeh Ani Lefanecha, you're not only saying, I thank you for giving me back my soul, you're saying, I admit to you that you are the ultimate reality, right? Normally we think of ourselves as being the yesh, the something, and as you go higher and higher, you're going into the I, into the space of nothing, right? But the truth is that God is the real yesh, and we're the real I, because our whole existence is like Toile Eretz Blima. It's like it could end any second, right? The entire world could end any second. So God is the real Yash. Okay, so Modeh Ani Lefanecha, I admit before you, Melech Chai V'Kayam, that you are the living God. Shechazarta B'Nishmati, you have given me back my soul. You're the real reality, right? And so the first part of davening is known as the Psukei de Zimra. It's basically Hoidu L'Hashem Ki Tov, Hoidu L'Hashem Ki V'Shmai. Give thanks to God, and in the process of giving thanks, what are you doing is you're basically saying, yes, Hashem, you are the only real reality that is worth serving. Then the second major aspect of davening is bracha, is to bring down the godliness to this world. Okay, so that the presence of God is evident in this world. That's what the Shemoneh Esrei is all about. Okay. But to go from Haidar to bracha, you have to first also have you have to call up your love for God. And that's the whole section of Birchas Kriya Shema and Shema. Okay. So even if, let's say, you don't have time to daven, like the whole chakras, and you want to start at the lane. You never heard of them work backwards? I work backwards, right? Like we're gonna have for food. Okay. Anyway, so take a couple of minutes and say, Hashem, you are the reality. I'm grateful to you for everything that you've given me, that you're giving me. I'm grateful for the connection that you've established with me, that you've given us a Torah, you've given us the ability to say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. You've given me the ability to absolutely love you. And to focus on that. Hashem, I love you. And if you can't say that completely honestly, say Hashem, I want to love you. And if you can't say that, I want to love you. Okay? And then take a couple of minutes to say the Shemoneh Esrei, or at least one is that what's the whole idea of bracha? There's a Gemara that says that Reb Shlomo Carlebach, the last Kohen Gadol, the last high priest, he says that as he was leaving the Kodesh HaKadoshim on Yom Kippur, So Kasriel HaMalach, which is just another name for the Shekhinah, says to him, Yishmol b'ni borcheni, give me a blessing. Hashem is saying to the Kohen Gadol, give me a blessing. So he gives him a bracha. Gives him a bracha that his compassion should overrule his anger. So the Ishbitzer explains, what does it mean Hashem is saying, give me a bracha? Hashem is saying to a human being, give me a bracha? What does that mean? Right? So basically what it means is that Hashem is saying, bring me into this world. Bring me into this world. In other words, are you giving me a bracha? Baruch atah Hashem, Reifei Choli Amo Yisrael. And in fact, we want to dedicate this. I hope I didn't cut out the Facebook, but we were supposed to dedicate this shir today. There's a baby that was born, and these 72 hours are really critical. So we're dedicating the shir to Tinok Bas Miriam Sarah. Okay. So she should be well. Anyway, she, I don't know if it's a boy or girl. Anyway, so the idea is that the word Baruch is related to the word Brecha, which means a pool. Like, you're creating a vessel to receive the divine blessing. But Hashem is basically saying, it's not that Hashem needs me to say, oh, thank you, God, for Parnassus, thank you, God. I need to do that. Okay? But the saying, thank you for Parnassus, thank you for health, thank you for all these things is basically Hashem is arousing Hashem to give us more of it. In other words, when Hashem wants a bracha, it means Hashem is saying, please bring me into your life. Bring me into this world. So I was saying that even at a time, if you do have time to daven, now we're trained. Like, Shachos is so many pages. We're trained. Daven this, daven this, daven this, daven this, daven this, daven this. I once was teaching in a school over here in Yerushalayim. So I asked the Rav of the school, I said, do you want me to teach the kids to daven, or you want me to teach them how not to daven? Because what they had scheduled was, it was grade 5, and grade 5 was supposed to do the whole Shachris, and the schedule was, we were supposed to do Shachris in half an hour. So I said, what do you want me to teach them, how to daven or how not to daven? So he says, I was basically asking him to give me a heter that instead of doing all the mizmarim every day, we would do one mizmar, So he said, he looks at me and he says, I know what you're after. And he says, no, I'm not giving you a heter. Yeah. Anyway, so I had to steal time from other subjects, Okay? But that's basically it. Like, we walk into shul. We know that davening ends with Aleinu, and from Atayvu to Aleinu, there's so many things that you need to be saying and so on, and they're all important, right? But if you would really daven, if we would really daven, it's like the Gemara says that Chassidim HaRishonim would meditate an hour before Shemoneh Esrei, then they would spend an hour doing Shemoneh Esrei, and then they would meditate another hour afterwards, 3 times a day. So the Gemara asks the obvious question, what about work? Well, you got such a Gemara head.
I thought it was a bad question.
So what about work? No, we have to work. So the Gemara answers they were on such a high level that they managed to get their work done very quickly. Okay. So that's, you understand? So it's really good to think about what am I doing with davening? What's the state of consciousness I want to be in? To be aware that I'm standing in front of Hashem. That Hashem is the reality. And to arouse my love for Hashem. And to love Him so much that He says, okay, I'm hanging out with you. Okay? Bring me into the world. You love me and you love people, and you want this person to be healed, I'm going to send them healing. You want people to have parnasa, I'm going to bring down parnasa, etc., etc. So we should be the benchmark just to have the Gula Shleima quickly in our days. Oh, here's a gematria that you can take with you to Shelton. Ani Beseder is gematria Yeshiva. Ani Loi Beseder is gematria Mashiach. So much like that.
What's the first one?
Ani Beseder
Yeah.
is gematria Yeshiva.
Yeshiva.
Yeshiva. Ani Loi Beseder is gematria Mashiach. Right? Understand? People who walk around Ani Beseder, they're sitting.
They have their sons.
They have their sanas or whatever, or they have their yeshiva, whatever it is, you understand? It's everything, Hakol Beseder. But the people who are Ni Lo Beseder, they're the ones who are, who want Mashiach. And the safe trip, come back, when you're coming back?
The last week of August.
Oh, so you'll be here for Rosh Hashanah, you'll be here for Elul. Huh?
I'll be in Ukraine.
So, yeah? Yeah, it's a new thing that you only, not only for Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah, it's my own thing.
You'll be still. Okay, see you tomorrow, Mr. Hashem.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Shayna, Rachel, Ian, who else is there?
Yeah.
All of you, Kultiv.
I love your
People wish to go like really free for time.
Specialty.
See you next week. Next
I
week,
hope so. I'm
I
on
hope so.
vacation soon, but
I'm going to Montreal, not this Thursday, next Thursday.
Cancer.
So, okay, so you two come to.
Yeah. Sure.
Do you do their bike time?
No, I do.